Hello and welcome to the QA Therapy podcast. Are you looking to improve your overall testing and quality practices? My name is Sergio Freire and I'm a solution architect and a testing advocate at Xray.
And my name is Cristiano Cunha, and I'm also a solution architect and test advocate. And we'll be your hosts and QA therapists throughout this series. In this podcast, we're going to tackle some of the most common testing and quality challenges that we all face in our teams. So if this sounds good to you, keep on listening. In QA therapy, we'll talk about the symptoms of testing challenges. Then we'll try to get to the actual underlying problems that may cause them. And finally, we'll do a diagnosis, where we'll discuss solutions in further detail. Through the series, we'll invite guests from the testing community so that we can have unique insights from people that have already gone through these challenges. Like regular therapy, QA therapy is a place for learning and sharing. As testers, we are already used to communicating and digging deep because that's the only way for us to improve our understanding and figuring out ways as a team of improving quality. For this first episode, we will tackle a very common problem that sometimes is not even recognized: how the lack of visibility can impact you, your team, and your company.
So, what brings you here? Let's talk about symptoms. Is your delivery slowing down and you cannot quite understand what is going on? Do you feel lost about which information to fetch and how to obtain it, how it relates with one another? Are your development and testing teams playing ping pong with issues and bugs? Are you aware of what is being tested at all? Do you lack confidence about releasing? Time to talk about the problem. And all of those symptoms reveal that we are having a lack of visibility on the different tools or stages of the delivery lifecycle, and also between teams or elements. We may not even notice how impactful this lack of visibility is in our day to day work. This lack of visibility usually hurts collaboration and, in the end, hinder the capacity of the team to deliver fast and with quality. It's time for diagnosis and prescription. And I would like to raise the first question to Cristiano. Cristiano, sometimes the lack of visibility is, I would say, hard to recognize. How can we know that we have lack of visibility?
Well, it's really a good question because it's hard sometimes to understand or to see that we have lack of visibility. But one good indicator is if you have some questions that you cannot answer because you don't have access to the information, or you don't know which tool you need to to check, or if you need to gather information from different sources in order for you to have a proper answer to provide. So all of these are indicators that probably the visibility of the information, of the testing, of your project is not at the level that you need to perform your work um, in the best way that you can, because you have lack of visibility of the information available to you. And all of this lack of visibility, we talked, I just give you some hints on how to try to identify that you have lack of visibility. But really, what can cause this lack of visibility? What do you think about it, sir?
Well, maybe there are several different reasons for that. The first one I would highlight is the fact that we may have siloed teams or siloed team members within the teams. So, what happens whenever we have these siloed teams or siloed team members is that we tend to hide the information, we tend to restrict access to information. And without having access to information, we cannot really take decisions that can, in the end, help us improve the product. So, dealing with siloed teams and siloed team members is, in my perspective, really important, and this is one of the causes of this lack of visibility. But it's not all. I would say, let's also from a technical perspective, tooling can also foster lack of visibility. What I mean with that is that sometimes we have a bunch of tools that they don't actually connect with one another. They are hard to integrate, and we know that actually recent studies from GitHub October's and also mentioned that um, teams use a bunch of tools like seven tools, something like
Yeah,
that, and
on average.
on average, yeah, probably much more in real life, but in average, it's something like that. So, but we have to. The thing with tools is that some of them they are hard to integrate, and actually having tools that provide a good integration capability is really a need for teams in order to make visible the information that you can extract from those tools. So
Yeah.
having proper
Yeah,
tools
I was
is
just going to add something because integration sometimes is just seen in the technical aspect of it. That is, I integrate this tool with my tool. But what you say is really important because integration, in terms of how will I surface the information that this tool is going to produce. So it's really important. Yeah.
yeah, because sometimes you know that sometimes we have useful tools, but for example, that don't provide enough reporting capabilities. So we need to be able to analyze the information produced by those tools elsewhere in a proper visualization tool where we can actually relate that information with other information that we may have from also from other tools.
Mhm.
But I mentioned I was mentioning tools and teams and the kind of silos that you have with tools and with teams, and we are talking about having a proper integration between them. But for the lack of visibility issues that we were highlighting, sometimes what happens is that we also have a lack of a safe environment. What that means is that we are not free to experiment, we are not free to fail, so we tend to hide information, we tend to deal to avoid dealing with problems, to avoid dealing with challenges. um, I, I, what is your perspective, Christian, on the this safe environment? I know that your background also comes from a big company. What
Yeah.
can be the causes for poor visibility with in a, whenever you don't have a safe environment?
Yeah. So it's a good point because sometimes we go straight to tooling and to silo teams or some ping pong that happens between the teams, but we forget that in order for the teams to be able to work in their visibility in showing what they are doing, and keep in mind that showing what you are doing is not only sharing successes, is also sharing failures and sharing lessons learned. But if you don't have a safe environment within your company, the people that work there will not be compelled into sharing anything, into make things visible, because you need to have a safe environment for them to feel at ease in sharing those things. In order to have something or a system, an environment that will let you learn, make mistakes, learn from it, and act upon it instead of just searching for the culprit of it and try to punish it. And all of this is hard to have, but I think it's the common ground. The first layer that we need to have in order to build this visibility over it, and it's hard to build. So what do you think we need to have this safe environment? What changes can you have can you give us our opinion, Sergio, about it?
Yeah, I've worked with many teams, and some of them, unfortunately, in not really safe environments. And I think that most of the times the problems they start at the top. So there's actually where we need to start to engage with the top management and start to build a culture where is okay to fail, or where we can try things, where we can expose information without being afraid of being punished. And sometimes, if we don't have this kind of safe environment built from the top down perspective, um, people won't be able to um, to experiment, to expose things that would need to be handled. So they will start this will start limiting themselves of talking about issues that occur in the software, that occur in the testing, that occur in the deployment process. So we need to really work with the managers, and in order to tell them that it's not only okay to actually fail. It's, it's actually something that we need an environment where we can try, where we can experiment, because experiment is like an enabler for finding out better ways of doing things. So
Yeah,
learning and continuous learning is really important. And in testing, for example, learning is crucial. And this software
yeah.
development also learning, we have to refactor the things that we are architecturing software, while we are dealing with risk whenever we take decisions around building and coding the software.
Yeah, and failure is part of the process. There's no way
Yeah,
around
yeah.
it. It will
Well,
happen. So
of course, we don't want to always be failing. We are not in
of course,
companies to always be failing, but we are there to learn, and that requires that sometimes we make learnable mistakes. It's not about making mistakes, but making learning
exactly.
mistakes so we can improve. And now, if I may ask you a question, Cristiano, and I know that you come from a culture of DevOps, and with the adoption of DevOps, we see like a growing need of tools.
Oh
How
yeah.
can the adoption of tools impact visibility?
Yeah, actually, well, DevOps, I saw it, that this mindset, this way of doing things has really changed the way that you deliver software with this new DevOps mindset. And it requires a lot of new tools, pretty much to build your pipeline. So you need a lot of tools in different stages in order to do everything that you need to deliver your project since conception until production. But once you start introducing new tools, we come back to that problem that you referred above. That is more when you have more tools, you have to make sure that they all integrate together, and you are able to extract information in a way that you can look at it as a whole. So instead of just, oh, I have to check in this tool, what's the output in that tool, in the other tool, you need to be able to have a common ground or source of truth about everything that happens. And the pipeline is a way or an attempt to do so. But what's missing on the pipeline is the connection to the requirements sometimes that we see. And well, Xray will allow you to do that connection, that lost connection that sometimes you don't have. That is, how is my testing covering those requirements, and how is this connection possible? But also, when you have a lot of tools and you have teams that are striving for innovation, they always want to have the next big or the next cool tool that is around.
Oh,
And
everyone wants one of those. A magic
yeah, we
tool.
only always want to try the new thing. But when you are in a big company, you need to make sure that the process is stable and with the levels of quality that you need. And if you are always inserting new tools, and some tools are not that, well, they are still in beta or alpha versions, so they're not that stable, you will add that instability to your process. So also the adoption of new tools must be something that in your company you have to have defined, because if you have this process defined of how can someone adopt a new tool in your company, it will bring you at least two things: that is visibility over the tools that are used in your company. So now you know that if you have a problem, you know what tools are being used in your company to solve that problem in the similar way, and you know what steps that you need to do if you want to adopt a new tool. And one of the requirements for in this process should be visibility. How can this tool integrate good and bring visibility into everything that you do and into your process? But
Sorry for interruption, but I was thinking that knowing the tools is also making the tools visible that we are adopting. It's also in a perspective understanding also a bit of the risks that we can have related to those tools. Sometimes we adopt tools that are helpful at a given moment, but then certain problems may occur even with those tools or somehow connected with those tools. And having this understanding of the kind of tools that we are using across the organization can be quite helpful for then taking decisions and eventually try other tools that can be more beneficial to us.
yeah, yeah, and it's the reinventing the wheel, because if I have a team that is
Yeah,
using a tool that is already solving that problem, why should I
I
put a new
remember
tool to try to solve the same problem?
sometimes you have these teams that really like to always try new tools like every single day,
Yeah,
and actually they are eager always to try new tools at every moment that they don't actually get the work done. I mean, they don't make the features enough, I would say, that are stable enough, because they are always changing things in a very fast way, in a too fast way.
yeah, it's
So
you need
yeah,
some stability on your processing and your production. It's not you need, well, I encourage everyone to look at new tools and try them out, but then also look at if they are already in the state that you can insert them with quality in your process. So it's different. And also when you are inserting new tools, um, you start having new tools or environments or systems, you start having a problem that is access. And in big companies I felt that is how why do I why I cannot access this tool, or why cannot access this system? So why is this so restricted? And sometimes, and I think you touched it on your previous answer, that is the lack of access is also a problem to visibility. But sometimes those measures are there for a reason, right? It's like I don't know, we don't allow anyone to access this because it has PII data. So how should we approach this? How do you think?
that's a good question. The access to tools, they may be restricted for several reasons, as you mentioned, and sometimes the fact sometimes it may be a business kind of
Limitation, yeah.
limitation. Yeah, maybe we have a licensing issue. Sometimes it's something, someone that wants to have control over the things, and just because. So I would say that we really need to keep reviewing what we have, the current processes we have, and the accesses that we have in place, if we should have it restricted or not, or if we should have it in let's say, follow a more open kind of approach. For me personally, I would say having a more open approach is always, if possible, is always an enabler, because you have access to collaboration, you have access to information. It can in turn foster collaboration. It can foster discussions,
Yeah.
and the, the the fact that we can have this kind of conversation about accesses, it's also a way to bring things to the table. So maybe at that moment in time, maybe we'll find out that maybe those tools that we have maybe are not really that useful. Maybe we can do things in another way. So maybe
Yeah.
this can be an opportunity for us to review the processes that we have in place. So it can
Yeah.
bring some visibility about the things that we have in place, that maybe we can reduce the things in a different way.
Yeah. It's a yeah. Starting the conversation is always good because it will make you question everything that you have and redo or revamp or refactor your process in better ways. So now we have covered environments, we have covered tools, but I know that the way we address work will also influence visibility, right? So how do you think it is?
Well, that's, I would say, totally true. I mean, we the one of the things that I think is really important for teams to have is or try to pursue is um, have um, or increase shared understanding. And the way that we actually organize and the way that we work um, influences the understanding that we have about the things, and in turn, it influences how we make things. So, having trying to increase our shared understanding uh, fosters visibility about certain certain things. So, let me try to give you, let's say, a more concrete example. So,
Mhm.
for example, we in one of the teams that we have, um, some time ago, we did an experiment um, around ensemble programming. So the team was not using wasn't following a more kind of traditional approach to software development, doing pull requests and then moving things to um, the testers to test, and then there was feedback on the artifact that was built. Maybe the issue would be moved again to the developer to fix. So you could have that ping pong that we are discussing earlier. So what we did is actually tried out a different way of building features by working together in this kind of ensemble or mob programming, as it was also known, where we have multiple developers together, where the tester was also part of those ensemble sessions. And what happened is that this approach really help the increase the shared understanding, what I was referring earlier, and I
Yeah.
was not able to explain that much. But by having the tester there, the tester could really raise questions right from the moment zero, while the thing was being built, while the feature was being thought. So what happened is that that feature was being tested uh, throughout the whole process. So it means that from the ideation, from the implementation, and having also multiple developers together, also enable to for people to increase their understanding about the code, the features. So one of the developers could raise certain
Yeah.
questions, the other one could raise a different question. So that was a way to bring visibility about what we are building and how we were
Mhm.
building. So the way that we work also influences, let's say, visibility. And
Yeah.
visibility is like a big enabler for them for acting. I mean, for us to be able to do changes, the needed changes with confidence. Because many teams, what happens is that they have this lack of confidence. Why? Because they are lacking information. They are lacking this kind of shared understanding. Because, well, they don't know everything about the software, everything about the product, and maybe they just working one or two features or one or two parts of the code, uh, and they didn't have a clear understanding about the whole architecture. And by actually working together in this kind of an ensemble sessions, it was a great way to foster collaboration through better, uh, let's say, shared understanding, and also better visibility the about the needs, about the implementation aspects.
Yeah. And it's really powerful to share how you think with your colleagues, and sometimes you can even foster the quality mindset into them, because now development knows what you think about, what are your concerns, and they can start uh, adopting those kinds of things for them. And you also know how they approach the problem. So for sure it's a really powerful tool.
And Christian, I also remember, let's say, other kind of exercises that the teams can actually do. I'm always referring to the testing depth quadrants that I learned with Rob Mini, because that's something that I
Mhm.
tried and I think it worked quite well, and that I would like to see come more often. It's a visual exercise about where you put some cards on or where you put uh, some cards in a cardboard, and then post-its in a cardboard, and you splitting in four quadrants that where you present the different aspects about your testing, what makes your testing more complex, where it makes um, your testing in different ways, basic challenge that you have with your testing. And by having all the team members being able to provide feedback about what is making their testing not ideal, then people can actually define like an action plan or ideas, um, for dealing with those, and making the hand better testing. So by bringing this kind of exercise, well, people can participate and make visible the things that make that are somehow affecting testing, is a great way for in the hand to pursue better, let's say, quality, because can people can then actually do something about it.
Yeah. And
This is like a whole team kind of exercise. So uh, visibility is also about working effectively more as a team, not being working solo, focus on just our our tasks. Is about discussing things together.
good, good. Well, and like all good things, they cannot last forever. So we're reaching the end. Do you want to add anything about visibility, Sergio, before we?
Well, maybe one last thing is that this is like an ongoing challenge. It's something that we have to try to pursue in teams, and I would really like to highlight the building of a safe environment as one of the aspects that is really important. And Another thing that can be also relevant is also try to have a place where you can make information more visible. So and since we are nowadays talking about observability, it's about having, um, if you are using a certain project management tool such as Jira or something like that, having, if you have some sort of information there that can be consolidated in one single place, can really be helpful. That doesn't mean that we should only use one tool, but if we have one tool that can be like the single source of truth, it can be really a good enabler for visibility related aspects.
Yeah, good points.
It's time for closing regards. And now that you are aware of how important visibility is and are able to identify the signs of not having it, you can use the prescriptions to start your journey towards visibility and see how it will foster collaboration within your team. Do not lose our upcoming episode as we approach the performance problematic with a very special guest.
So, see you in our next therapy session. Happy testing!
Happy testing!